my darlings, it's been a while. Thank you so much for staying here. I know it's been a while since I published a knitting podcast. Actually here maybe it was not that long, because the last one I published it quite recently, but I filmed it before. So I didn't film almost all of the summer. I had quite a busy summer, honestly, because work, trips. I went back home to Ukraine. It's been a tough trip, but very necessary and also very nice. It was very nice to see my family. It's always very nice. I have a new niece, and so I was very happy to spend some time with her, and also to get inspired by my homeland. So let's start. It's been a while, so that's why I have quite many finished objects. Some of them you've seen before, some of them you haven't. So I will try to start with the ones that at least you saw them when they were in progress. And the first one is going to be, I finally finished my Steven West shawl. It's Shawlography. Here we go. It's big, but it's honestly not as big as I thought it will be. I don't know why I imagined it quite bigger. I remember that I was really inspired. I don't know, I would have never thought about knitting this just from his product pictures, because I didn't do the MCAL or anything like that. And if I just saw his photos, it was all like green and orange and this type of colors. And I'm not really into those colors together, and especially not into orange. So I don't know, I don't have this very abstract imagination in this sense. So there are some people who can see a model and say like, oh my God, it will look so great in cream and pink or something like that. I would have never thought about that, honestly. It's not how my brain wired maybe. So when I saw how Lisa from Lisa Makes made her shawl, I was super inspired, so I tried to figure out the colors for them to be a little bit closer to hers. In the end, it looks nothing like hers, but the inspiration was from there. But when I saw it in her account, I thought that it was super huge. It's big, but it's not as big. I cannot wait for it to be a little bit cooler here, because yeah, we're in the end of October, but it's still very, very warm here in Sicily. And I cannot wait for it to become a little bit cooler, so I will be able to wear it with like a leather jacket, probably, something like that. It was a great process. I think I would love to always have something just for the process on my needles, because I think I'm more of a product knitter, or at least like I'm kind of a mixed one, because I like to knit what I love to knit, also the process and how the stitches and I don't know, the models, new techniques and everything. I really appreciate it and I really enjoy it, but at the same time I'm really interested in the final product. And here I think this was, I did want this shawl, but I also really, really, really wanted to just have fun with the project, with the process. And so I did. And I'm looking at other Steven West shawls. I think maybe like in a year's time, maybe not right now, because I have another fun shawl on my needles now. I will show you later. But I think like in a year or so, I would love to try his other. There are two other shawls that I really liked from him. One is called Stripestravaganza, I think, and the other one is Exploration Station, if I'm not mistaken. I think those two look amazing, and I would love to also try and figure out the color story for them and try to knit them in an interesting, fun way. But maybe like after some time, I just need the cleanse from that. But it was a great experience. It was like just firework of knitting, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, next one is going to be the love letter top. As I promised you last time, I think that it will be finished by this time, and it is. Here we are. I already wore it a couple of times. I will try to insert some photos if I will find them and if I will not forget. But anyways, it was super lovely process also, because it's lots of lace, lots of variation in stitches that you do, which was very fun. Very nice. The only thing I was not super fan of is that there is some of this lace is knitted on both sides, and so while you're still knitting in the not in the round, but while you're still knitting back and forth, it was a little bit, I don't know, like my brain was just a little bit not doing that. I was like, okay, so if I'm knitting back and then it's knits or purls and something else. So I was making I made a couple of mistakes in that process, but overall it's all good. And I think I'm showing it to you. Yeah, I'm showing it to you the other way around. Sorry, I just realized. I wore it already a couple of times. I wore it with, I don't know, like with long skirt, with white skirt. I wore it with jeans, with something else, like with a blazer even. And I really love it. And I'm actually considering that maybe for the next year. Now I'm not feeling summer knits at all anymore. Even though, as I said, here it's very warm. I'm wearing it's not linen, it's cotton shirt. And I'm a bit warm right now. I wish I was wearing something without sleeves. So what I was saying, maybe in the next year when I will be feeling summer knits again, I maybe will try to knit the same one in that red linen that I have from Katya, the one that I showed last time. I think it will look great because the inspiration for me to buy that yarn was Celine from Woozy by Celine. And this is what she knit from hers, and I think I will do the same because I think it looks very, very nice in that red color, and that red is just the perfect red. I'm not really into reds that much, especially lately. I don't think I have like a red bag, like a small crossbody bag. I don't think I have anything else, but I think it would be very nice to play with this color and to have it especially in that particular shade because it's not warm, which is great. So also another lovely project, and continuing with Kutavakika because it was her pattern. I don't know if I said, but I think you know. I finally finished also the Sailor Swift top, and you will see that I was kind of like not feeling it by the end of it at all because I still didn't even hide any of the ends. Here we are. Yeah, I had to knit it extra long because this time I finally, if you don't know, it's the third time that I knitted it. I made it last year in, I finished like in the end of September. I remember that I was finishing it on a business trip that I had to Malaga, and I was knitting on the plane back and forth. And I bought the needles that I needed for the neck in Malaga in the shop. So I made it last year. It turned out to be very big on me. It was unflattering, and I don't think that I'm wearing everything in my life, or I'm like aiming for everything in my life to be flattering, but this specific one needs to be a little bit more figure hugging and everything. So I knitted that one, I frogged it, then I knitted the Bordeaux one this year, also from cotton without stripes, and then finally I finished this one. And this was like the last stretch. Literally, you see I still have all the ends out just because I was really, by the end of it I couldn't look at it. And I really don't like to knit this way, but I know that I will be happy that I have it, that I made it, that I finished, because it's something that every time that it pops out somewhere in the podcast or on Instagram, somewhere in the inspiration, I'm like, I almost have that top, like I really want to have it, but it's still not ready. Now it's ready. I'm like, I blocked it, I just didn't hide the ends. Now I need to gather all of my strength and sit down and do that. I will. Probably, maybe even today actually, because we're going to a dinner and I think it would be nice to wear with a pair of linen pants. Okay, this was it with the summer knits. Almost. Next one, let's speak about socks. There is a Ukrainian knitter, an Ukrainian knitting designer whose name is Margot or Margarita, and she creates, I only tried this one from her, but it was not a pattern, it was like really a workshop, like a master class, a workshop, a tutorial on, it's all in video, and she explains to you how to knit socks from toe up, and how to make the, in Ukrainian it's called like the boomerang heel. I don't know how it's called in English because I'm not super big expert on socks. And anyways, so I tried this year to knit these socks from her, and I'm so super freaking excited about them because first of all, I really enjoyed it. Second of all, it was the first time I knitted from the toe up. And third of all, it was the first time that I started knitting two socks together, and I'm never going back. I know that many people, like I'm just now realizing what was the problem for me, because last time I think I said that I'm still trying to understand whether I like to knit socks or not. I was pretty sure that I don't, and I had one sock almost finished. I will show them to you later because I finished them finally, but there's another big story about that. Anyway, so I was looking at it and I was like, okay, so I will finish this sock, and it's so small and such small circumference and small needles, and I will finish it, and then I need to repeat exactly the same thing again. For me, it was so unbearable, just this thought, because you see, even with the tops, I kind of like, with the distance of 1 year, I knitted the same top 3 times basically, and I was just like not feeling it at all. The second time it was a bit different because I was not making the stripes, but the third time it was just horrible, just daunting. And I believe that there are some patterns that I can knit more times, but I know that I need to have some space between them, and like maybe a different yarn and maybe different approach, or like one I'm knitting with mohair and another one without, like some difference in that. And when you're knitting socks, they're all the same and they supposed to be the same. So it was a little bit daunting, and I was not feeling it until I tried this workshop, until I tried this tutorials. So I've made these socks. She calls them relaxed socks. You see the heel? The heel is just, it's very nice. It's a 2x2 rib, and yeah, you start from here. You form the toe with in a very particular way, very interesting one, and then you just knit. And I knitted until the ball of yarn was finished. It's actually Turkish yarn. It's called Alize. I've never tried it. I know that in Ukraine many people knit with this yarn because it's the most available one, and it's cheaper and it's kind of a good quality. I would say that for me it's very comparable to Drops Fabel, because both of them, especially like Drops Fabel that is like monotone, like one color, no? It's also a bit splitty, and this one is also a bit splitty. So this was one thing that I can complain about. But anyways, everything else, I'm super happy about the socks. They're quite long. Obviously, I don't have such skinny legs, and up until there, because it's like almost till my knee. So I cannot wear them this way. So I'm just like ruching them down a little bit. But I think they will be great with some boots when it will become colder. And the thing about this type of yarn also is that you don't really need to be very precious about it. So I will wear them with boots anyways. I don't have any problem with that. I don't think that they will get destroyed or something, and I can always knit them again. So great tutorial, and I believe that this tutorial actually returned my love, or anyways, like returned an interest for me to knit socks. And so when I came back to Palermo, I decided, because I started them in Ukraine, I didn't say that, I decided that I will finish the socks that I was knitting. I was knitting Hermione's everyday socks, and I think these are going to be the first socks ever that I will frog and maybe knit again, but we will see. Maybe not the same pattern once again, because I'm feeling like maybe it will just be the death of me and I will start hating knitting socks again. What happened is I was knitting on them from time to time. I have this beautiful hand-dyed yarn that I bought from one Dutch knitter on Instagram when she was doing a distache. And I was just knitting like from time to time, as I said. I was just like, I will do a few rows here and there, and then I will leave them for a month, and then I will knit something again. And I normally were stopping, like maybe making bigger stops when I was finishing one type of, like one process, no, one type of knitting on the sock. And that's exactly what bit me in the behind, because it was just my fault completely. It has nothing to do with the pattern. The pattern is great and the texture is very nice. I don't know if it will be very visible on this type of yarn, but it's very nice. But so what happened? What happened is that I knitted the heel flap. Then I set them aside, and then when I started knitting on them again, I was like, oh, weird. You just pick up the stitches straight ahead? Okay. I picked up the stitches, and I was wondering, like, why the heel is so weird. Like, obviously there was some problems in shaping, but I was not even looking back at the pattern. I was like, okay, whatever, it's like a weird sock, but it's good. I knitted, like I finished it. It turned out quite nice. I really like how neat it is, and I love this yarn. I love the hand-dyed yarn of this type. Is it focused? Okay. Of this type that is not very fluffy. because I feel like it looks much better on the knits, and the stitches look much better. So I finished it, and then I was like still on this hype of knitting socks. I was like, okay, I'm going to knit the second one. I started knitting the second one, and I was reading the instructions, and I was like, no, you don't just pick up you do the short rows to shape the heel. So this one is all good, and because of that it's completely different. And it's so different everywhere, so I cannot even explain to you how, because I understand that, yes, obviously, if the heel is different, then from here on, everything is different. So the shaping is different, the number of decreases is different, everything is different, but also this part is also different somehow. I don't know, maybe my knitting gauge changed or something, so I don't know. I still need to understand how much it bothers me, because first of all, it's just socks. It's not like the end of the world. And the yarn is very nice, but I have so much nice yarn recently. Maybe I will film another video about that, because I brought such a beautiful hand-dyed yarn for socks from Ukraine. And I'm just like, I have many things to be grateful about, including that yarn, so I can knit other pair of socks, or I can knit the same pair of socks just in different yarn. I will see like how much it bothers me, but what bothers me is not exactly this problem with the heel, because who's going to see your heel while you're wearing them? Anyways, they're supposed to mold to my feet, no? What bothers me is that somehow one is longer, one is shorter on the top. So I obviously made some mistakes, like a number of mistakes. I just don't understand. In this case, I don't understand which ones I made, because I was using the markers to mark every pattern repeat, and so I did exactly the same amount. So I don't know what happened, but something happened, and it's not the end of the world. But yeah, and the next time if I will knit them, I will knit them two at the same time, because that's a game changer. And after those two pairs of socks, I decided that I want to make another pair of socks with Margot's tutorial, and I made these ones. This is Fabel with the print. I cannot tell you the number now. I will try to find it and insert later. I just did like no rib, no nothing, just a plain stockinette stitch. Look how pretty. Like even here, everything is so neat, everything is so nice, but you will notice that here I also still have the ends out, is because I didn't close it loosely enough, and I feel like they're a little bit uncomfortable for the foot on the top. So I'm waiting for my needles to be free from another sock project, and I'm going to cast them off again, bind them off again, yeah. And then continuing with Ukrainian designers, I have another thing that is from a knitting designer whose name is Natalia. Her channel is Natka Knits, I think, in Ukrainian, Natka Vyaja. And she was making this, it was also like some sort of charity thing. It's kind of this like small bandana with lots of lace, beautiful lace, with this type of ties. And you're supposed to wear it just like that. No, like, I donated the money because it was for charity, as I said. I paid for it. She added me in the group in Telegram. I got the pattern. I overall absolutely enjoyed the process. It was very engaging, very cool. As I said, the pattern, the lace is amazing. And I knitted in 2 strands of the same cotton that I used for my other Sailor Swift top, the Bordeaux one. And I finished it in 1 afternoon. I just sat down, it was like Sunday afternoon. I decided I will try to knit it, and it was so fast and so enjoyable, so I really had the best time with it. Okay, that's a lot. And I still have 2 sweaters to show you. Okay, then one is, there's also should be like a pre-story. I was going to Ukraine, and I was going for almost 1 month, and I was wondering what should I take with me to knit. And so I decided I took the Sailor Swift top. I was knitting it on when I met other knitters in Lviv. Then I knitted in all the way from Lviv to Kiev by train, which is like 6 and something hours. And then I couldn't look at it anymore, and so I just set it aside a little bit, because also it became a little bit cooler, but just a smidge. And I was like, okay, the thought of knitting something with even a little bit of merino looks very appealing to me now. And what I brought with me, apart from the top, was I brought one of the linens from Katya that I didn't even touch when I was there. And then I also brought the Merinocot from, it's LanaGatto, yes, LanaGatto, that I showed you before. I was thinking that my original plan was to knit, it was kind of like, I think it was petit knits, top with this, like a polo neck. And I wanted to hack it a little bit and have it with longer sleeves. But as I said before, I believe I'm trying not to buy too many patterns from Petit Knit until the end of this year, or in general, like until I can substitute with something else. Just because I think it's a little bit, it became for me a little bit too easy to just go to her, because I know that I have very simple style, she has very simple style. I know that I can relate to many of her patterns, and so it became so easy that I think I'm not supporting other designers, other knitters who might be supported. And also at the same time, I'm getting too used to the way she knits. Even though I didn't knit that many patterns from her. I think there are people who knit specifically only her patterns. I've made, I think, like 6 overall, but I'm not sure. No, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, maybe six or 7. But it's including like Sophie scarf and especially like children patterns. So anyways, that was a long story. I brought that yarn with me, but then in the end I decided that I will not buy that pattern from her. I didn't want to knit the polo. And so I decided that I will check which free patterns I have and which free patterns I like. And I remember that there is this pattern from Along avec Anna that is called Trescau Sweater, and I heavily hacked it. Okay, heavily, not heavily, but it doesn't look at all like how it will look on the photo. Here it is. As I said, I knitted it in Merinocot from LanaGatto. It's white color and this type of like turquoise, greenish something. It's a nice yarn, I like it, but I wore it 3 times and it already peels under the arms and on the sides, and also where my crossbody bag rubs on it, so it's, I don't know, I don't foresee for it to be in my wardrobe forever. But anyway, so what I really loved about this pattern is that the raglan lines are like this. No, it's just eyelets. And I think it's a great idea. I know that there are some patterns that came out now that I believe one is from Toriu that also has this type of raglan line. It's a free pattern and it requires you to do garter stitch on the neckline, on the cuffs, on the bottom of the sweater. And I didn't do any of that. Here I didn't do anything. I'm still considering maybe putting an I-cord, but for now I'm good like that, unless it will really drastically stretch. Maybe I will not even bother. Then I added stripes. Obviously, as you can see, I think I did like 12 rows of white and then 5 rows of contrast color. Then I closed it here with the double, like 2x2 rib. And also on the bottom, I done 2x2 rib. It was a very, very fast and fun knit. I knitted so many stripes in this time, and I think this one was kind of, it was a little bit already like too much, but at the same time I really liked it, and I think that this is the sweater that I wanted to have. So anyways, I'm happy that I made it. And as I said, I wore it a couple of times already. I wore it just to put around my shoulders when I went for a trip to Budapest and Milan recently for work again. And I wore it this way. I wore it as a sweater. I wore it kind of like as a scarf, and it was nice for this time of year, like end of September, beginning of October, in cooler place, cooler than Sicily. And the second sweater that I wanted to show you is the one that I finally finished. It's not a sweatshirt. You can see I still have a stitch marker there. Here it is, here it is, here it is. It's from the Knitting for Olive book. Very simple sweater. It's raglan and nothing too special about it. I have a beef with Drops Air because of this sweater. I have a very serious beef because I will try to show it to you and tell me if you will see. But here, it's not the question of, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can see. It's not the question of dye lot. It's not the question of anything. It's just completely different yarn. I had 5 balls from, once I bought 10 balls, I used 5 of them to knit the Turtle Dove cardigan. And then 5 were left and I just wanted to use them up and I wanted to have a gray sweater. And so I decided to knit this one. And it was enough for me to knit the body up until a certain point. Then I saw that I'm running out of yarn. When I had 2 balls left, I decided that, no, when I had one and a half balls left or something like that, I decided that I will start one shoulder from new ball. So when I can arrive, and so I arrived almost to the whole length of the sleeve, and then I added a little bit more from a second ball, from the rest of what I had. And that's how I counted that if I have 2 more balls, I will be able to finish the sweater. I ordered 2 balls. I was very ready for it to be like a dye lot issue or something like that, but it's like, it's so melangy and weird and uneven, so I don't know if it would have been that visible. But you can see, like, I was complaining so much about hating Drops Air because I didn't like how the stitches, look at the stitches. I didn't like how the stitches look. I didn't like this fluff. I didn't like also that the gray had a little bit, oh, yeah, that gray had a little bit kind of like of beige or something like that. It had a little bit of a weird undertone. So I don't know what it was. And then when this one arrived, I started knitting the sleeve. And it was so nice and so pleasant, and the stitches were so even. And I looked back and I was like, what the hell? It's completely different yarn. It's very different. And I went to check on the dye lots, and I think that it's, yeah, they changed something, because the first dye lot, the one that was for the one that I used for the cardigan and for the majority of the sweater, is it's only numbers. And this one, the new one that I bought, it had a letter and numbers. So I think they changed something, so it's completely different composition now, because also here in the bottom, I don't know if it will go away with blocking. I'm not sure. I still didn't block it just because I wanted to show it to you. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it will, maybe it will not. I don't have any problems with that, because it's not like a fashion statement sweater. It's going to be the sweater that I wear around, and I don't think that people will actually like really look that closely to it, especially after blocking, and maybe everything else will become a little bit more uniform. If it's going to be super noticeable, I don't have a problem to wear it, like to go, like to get in my car and go grocery shopping on a rainy afternoon or something like that. So it's not a problem. But the problem is that I cannot trust Drops Air anymore, because if things like that happen, it's a problem. I think it's a problem, because I hope that what I assume has happened is that the combination, the previous one, was not great, and so they changed it. And I heard about that people were knitting from gray and they were saying that gray was great, and then green was like problematic or something like that. And I thought that, yeah, it can be between the colors, maybe between something, but I think it's just between the lots of yarn, of how they produce it. I don't know what happened. Anyways, beware if you're planning to knit anything from Drops Air. And the last finished object that I have is, I don't have it anymore. I finished it and I gave it to my friends. Here's the photo. It's a seaside set from Petit Knit. It's one thing that when I was saying that I'm trying not to buy patterns from her, I set myself a limit of like 3 up until I can manage, no? And then we will see. Obviously, it's not something that, if I will see something that I'm absolutely in love with, I don't have a problem. But it was just something to inspire me to try and knit from other designers, and also because I have so many magazines, I have a couple of books, like I need to also utilize these resources. But I have the book that is called Making Memories from Claudia Quintanilla, and it's all about children knits. But when I started looking at everything to knit for my friend's son, who was born in May, I checked everything and I realized that nothing, like I really want to knit him this seaside set because I already had yarn. So this yarn is Filcolana from Arwetta. Color I will insert in the description box. I bought it from somewhere. Someone was destashing and I bought it from them. I had 3 bowls. It's kind of like these cigars. So this 3 cigars, and I think I finished like 2 of them, maybe 2 and like 3/4, something like that. For the trousers and for the stripes on the sweater, and the sweater itself is Drops Flora that I also had left from Stephen West's shawl. I never used it in the shawl, as you can see. I wanted to have this yellow contrast color like Lisa had, and then in the end I decided not to use it. I used pink instead that I had left from a sweater. So the buttons were from Drops. I bought them from Linde Hobby. And overall, I cannot say that it was a pleasurable project. I'm really sorry. I know that there are people who love to knit for children. Maybe with, I don't know, maybe with bigger gauge and the bigger yarn and something like that, and not under the time crunch, because I needed to finish it in like 1 week. And so for 1 week I was just knitting and my fingers were cramping from such small yarn and everything. So for now I'm good. I don't want to knit any children patterns. And yeah, but the pattern is great. The pattern is great. You can see that Petit Knit has 5 children. She knows how children work and what they need, because I really trust her in that sense. Okay, yeah, that's it with my finished objects. I have another sewing finished object. The only thing that I made this summer, I think, but yeah, not really a new thing. It's another fringe dress that I spoke about in my everything I like my handmade wardrobe video. It's just white one, the same pattern, the same everything, buttons from some piece of clothing that I used to have. I think it's from my trench that I had to recycle. And it's kind of like a double gauze that I bought from Vinted, I believe. It's a little bit see-through, as you can see, so I needed to. I put another layer in the skirt, and I wore this dress quite a lot this summer. It's nice and breathy, and I wanted white, long. I made 2 splits on the sides up until the knee, so this is something that I really got quite a lot of use out of. And so once again, my testimony on this pattern, it's great. I suggest it to everyone. And now I want to speak a little bit about my whips, what I'm working on now. I will start with the one that is going to be a little bit confusing, because I showed it that I finished it already, no? In another podcast. But as I said also, maybe that I didn't like it at that point, and I decided that I need to remake it. And I'm finally onto it. I'm almost finishing. I'm just doing like a couple of rows from time to time. It's my no frills cardigan, once again, Petit Knit. That is like super simple V-neck cardigan, long one, without buttons, without anything. What was the problem here? First of all, I knitted it a little bit too short. This is also Drops soft tweed in the color Spinach Pie. So it was a bit short. I will insert the photo. It was kind of like middle of the thigh for me, like the widest part of the thigh, I think. And it was looking a bit weird, and I was not feeling it. And then I realized that I knitted the rib quite short, like not as long as it's supposed to be. And the third thing, I didn't make the pockets that time, but it was like, anyways, it's afterthought pocket, so it was not a problem. Like I didn't need to undo all the bottom for it. But the main problem that I had with this cardigan, even more than the length or anything else, was that it didn't have any short rows, and it doesn't have any short rows. And I went on Ravelry and I checked all of the projects, and only one person said that they added short rows. For me, it was a big problem because it was really long in the front and quite visibly shorter on the back. And I even made this experiment, like we had people for a dinner party a couple of weeks ago, and my friend, it became chilly in the evening, and I gave cardigans to all of my friends because I have a number. And one of my friends, she had completely different body than mine. She looks more like petite knit, and she wore it, and it was the same thing on her. It was just not foreseen. So I've added 2 sets of short rows, and now it's great. It's all good. I tried it many times. Now it's going closer to my knee, and I think would love for it if I will manage with the yarn. I will try for it to end by my knee. I have this much left from one skein, and I have another one, and from this one I will need to make 2 afterthought pockets, and also the rib, the longer rib, because I believe it's supposed to be like 8 centimeters or something like that. And last time I made it shorter. So I'm very happy about that. Finally, I'm going to finish it and I'm going to wear it. Hopefully, no, not hopefully, it's like nothing is left here. Somehow, even though I had to use 3.75 millimeter needles, it just flies by. It's just so quick and easy to knit. And yeah, I don't have any problem with it. It just flies by, even though it's like knits and pearls. I don't know why. Like I've had things that were on much bigger needles with much bigger yarn, and they were kind of like more unpleasant for me to knit than this one. Even though it's normal yarn, it's nothing like super spectacular. Okay, the next one is something that I just fell in love with. It just was, I don't know, like a strike of lightning, love at first sight. There is a Ukrainian knitter on Instagram, and I believe her handle is Knitting Your Life. She makes she has her Instagram in English, and I think she lives in Poland now. But anyways, I saw this cardigan that she made, and I was like, whoa, like just gasp. It's called Braidy Loop cardigan, but by Other Loops. This is what I have at this point. It's the shoulders, no, and I'm doing the increases on the sleeves now. It has these 2 braids, and it's supposed to be this I think it's the cardigan that works the best in this type of simple colors. And I saw it, I just knew that I need to make it in this gray yarn, and I'm enjoying the process so much. I had to reknit completely both of these shoulders because I made a mistake. Maybe I will tell you about that in the next podcast when it will be a finished object. But it's just so pleasurable and enjoyable, and I'm knitting it from this yarn. I think I showed it to you. It's this big cone that I have. I foresee that maybe it will take quite a lot from here, and I'm happy about that because I'm trying to stash bust a little bit. And it's a perfect yarn for that. It's perfect. I didn't need to think about the gauge. I didn't need to think about anything else. Just beautiful. Lies down very beautifully, knits very beautifully. Perfect project. I'm just so happy that every time that I sit down to knit it and to watch Only Murders in the Building, it's like my favorite, perfect, happiest evening. Next project that I'm working on quite a lot now. As I said, I'm not feeling the summer knits anymore, but this one is more of a like transitional knit because it's not such small needles. And I think I will try to use up as much yarn as I can, and I want to make longer sleeves. This is called Emmanuel T. It's a free pattern from Hobby. And it was also like gasp the first time I saw it. I think it was targeting on me in Instagram, and every time I saw it, I was like, whoa, like I need to find that pattern. And then I realized that it was free, so jackpot. And then I decided that I wanted to knit it from yarn that I brought from Ukraine, which is like the mix of cotton and silk, but I didn't hit the gauge. I have it on the cones, on 2 cones, so I can knit it in like to double-stranded, but I counted, if I counted well, I think I need to like have 6 strands or something like that to knit it on this gauge, and I was like, I'm not doing that. But I have this, I think I showed it to you. It's a type of viscose yarn from Brilla Filatura di Crosa. It's cotton and viscose, 42 cotton, 58 viscose. It's this color, it's called that it's wisteria color. And here we are. I'm working on it also from time to time. It's on 4.5 millimeter needles, which is amazing. and it's quite a deep V. I think I will try to, when I will be knitting I-cords, maybe I will try to make it a little bit smaller. But the definite star of the show is this panel on the back. And I think it's, again, it's a perfect mixture of process and progress, because it's kind of like stockinette and it's kind of relaxing now because I'm not knitting back and forth anymore, I'm knitting in the round. But you also always have, like on every other row, you have this panel, like some lace to knit, and it's just beautiful. I really enjoy it. So yeah, I have quite a lot of this yarn, but it's quite heavy, so I will see how much. I think on the up until even before I managed to put it in the round, I think even before that I used like around 3 skeins, and I have other ones, I don't even know how many, quite many. I hope that to make it full length and also to make longer sleeves, and I'm thinking about making like kind of not necessarily bell sleeves, but just like straight sleeves, also with an I-cord. So I think I have more than enough yarn for that, and I think it will be great. It will be a great piece to have. It's quite elegant. It has this nice shine from viscose, I think. Let's hope it will not become duller. I didn't know what to do with that yarn. I bought it just because it was like, whoa, wisteria. Yeah, how I do sometimes. And in the end, I'm so happy that I did, because this was the perfect match, because I fell so in love with that pattern, and I had something I can use up straight ahead. And I think it would have been a bit weird to make it from merino or something like that, because I do definitely have like lace sweaters from like heavier wool and mohair and stuff, but when it has mohair it's different. It's kind of like it's not the same thing. But to have this open panel on the back but then to knit it in merino, for example, it would have been weird. I have 2 other projects. One is socks that I'm knitting right now. This is patterned by Sari Nordlund, but it's a free pattern from Novita. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. I'm sorry, where she used to work before. I didn't know that. It's called Oodi socks. It's O-O-D-I. Oodi socks from Novita, designer Sari Nordlund. And this is how they're supposed to look. I don't know if it will be visible. No, I don't think. Anyways, it's fully cabled socks. I'm not the greatest cable knitter, but yeah, I'm working on them and I'm enjoying that. They look comically small, but I tried them on and they're good. So I foresee that everything will be okay, but however, who knows? Once again, it's just socks. Here are the cables. And I'm really enjoying this process because it's a small one that I can carry anywhere with me, but it's also not just stockinette stitch. I have like rows when it's just stockinette and rows when it's more interesting than that, and I can cable, and I already memorized the pattern to the extent that I don't even need the pattern anymore. And the yarn is, it looks like a mess. This one, it's Regia by Schachenmeier. It's a silk. So it's silk blend. It has merino, I think, or like wool anyways, silk and polyamide. And I have it in this project bag that I have for socks. And I'm very happy about them. I cannot wait for them to be done. But at the same time, it's also a nice process, so I'm not complaining. And the other project that I have, the other progress that I have, sorry, work in progress, is I finally started. It looks very bright on the camera. I think it's not as bright in real life because it's a little bit melange, this silk paca. I'm knitting, this is Birds of a Feather by Andrea Maury. I'm knitting it from a silk paca from Malabrigo, and also this unknown mohair that I also bought from that knitter from the Netherlands. It's just this like kind of cream of white color. I don't think I would have ever used it for a sweater because I don't wear this type of colors. But I'm also trying to understand if I want to, because I have like a little bit whiter mohair. This, I think it's from Cecia, if I'm not mistaken, left from my Salty Days sweater. And then I also have it's like this pink one from it's Kid Silk from Mohair from Drops, and I have 1.5, not one and some more balls. Maybe I will try to add it here, because I want it to be like in this pink tones, and maybe they're not looking great together as I see now on the camera, but it's something that I'm open to possibilities. We will see. Maybe I will just knit it in this cream mohair and silk paca. Yeah, that's it. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is what I'm planning to knit in the nearest future, because I think that this cardigan will keep me occupied for some time, but it's, as I said, it's 4.5 millimeter needles, and it's going quite fast. It's not like toothpicky summer knits. So this one is going quite fast. That other one is also, now that it's in the round, is going quite fast, the Emmanuel T. And what I'm planning to knit now, I have a queue on Ravelry. I can leave the link in the description. What I'm planning to knit are a couple of things that I'm planning to knit like almost straight ahead, almost straight away. No, I still have I have my Venus shawl that I didn't make any progress on, and I've made a whip down on my Ukrainian channel very recently, and I unraveled the sleeve from the blue sweater that I had. I unraveled the thing that this kind of like variegated sunset shawl that I was calling it in yarn from Katya, because I didn't see the point of, like, I didn't know what I was making, literally. It was not just like trying to design something, it was just a failed attempt. And I also unraveled the bordeaux like scarf shawl thing, but that one I'm still considering that I'm going to be working on it, because I'm designing it by myself. It's not going to be anything super special, but I'm trying to figure out how to do it better, because I was not a fan of what was coming out before. With the 4 millimeter needles, I took 5 millimeter, and I'm trying to do it just garter stitch for some time, and then I will need to figure out because I want it to be kind of like a shawl with the opening for the head and with the neckline, with the collar. So I need to still do some math and figure it out. This is one thing, and Venus shawl is something that, yeah, is also on the back burner a little bit, but I want to finish this year, because it was supposed to be my shawl for the year, and I abandoned it almost immediately. And I love that yarn. It's it's not Malabrigo, sorry, it's Manchelopi, the pink one, beautiful. And so what I'm planning to knit out of the patterns that I still don't have, I'm planning to knit the Portobello sweater here. It's definitely a dupe, or anyways, it's like heavily inspired by Cézanne's Leontine sweater, and I have yarn for it, and it's a super wash from Drops, but I don't mind. I already have it, so I'm going to use it. I have white and navy, and it's once again stripes. So I had what I had in stripes. I had Sailor Swift top, I had my Trescal pullover, I had the Seaside set for my friend's son, and another one. It's kind of this like stripe extravaganza. So this, and then another thing that I'm planning to knit almost like now is Port Jacket by Ozetta. This one, I bought the Letlopi already. I bought the buttons, I bought everything apart from the pattern, and I'm planning to start on it as soon as I will finish another, like I think as soon as I will finish the green cardigan, just because I think if I have like too many projects that are back and forth, I will lose my will to knit all of them. So I need to mix and match things a little bit to be happy with my knitting. This is it. I think these are the ones that are the most pressing ones, the ones that I'm planning to knit like right now. And the other thing is that I wanted to ask you for cardigan suggestions for kind of like a decay weight. So like, let's say mohair plus kind of like fingering, not super tiny fingering, but fingering weight. I have beautiful yarn from 2 shops in Milan. I will speak about this maybe if in the next video, because I still didn't start anything. I didn't even swatch, but I want to have a cardigan in this weight, in this yarn, in this combination of yarn. And I want it to be, I wanted to have some texture, but not too much texture. And so some of the cardigans, like for example, it should not be like a book club cardigan. It should be something that is a little bit easier on the cables, because I don't want these heavy cables. I want something lighter, and I want something that will look great with this kind of like the tweedy fluffy fabric. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comment box. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to any new subscribers that I see in these days. Thank you so much. I'm very happy that you are here and you decided to stay. We're going to have lots of fun here. So, bye.